Now we're going to look at the transport controls in Reason. Before we get into that, a little quick review. Remember, to add devices, the first device you want to add to your rack is a mixer. That will automatically cable everything up for you. And then you can add devices several different ways that we went over in the last tutorial. If you missed that, go back and check that out again. The reason we add in a certain order is so that things are cabled up properly and connected to the mixing board so that we can hear each of the devices that we add. If you want to add a device without having it connected automatically, you hold the Shift key while you add it to the Reason rack. And oops, this got added somewhere. I'm not sure where. Well, let's try it again. Shift key, and yep, no cabling. All right. So what we're gonna look at now is I'm going to open up one of the demo songs in Reason. You can find the demo songs in the Reason folder. After you install the program, you should have a Reason folder on your computer hard drive. Then open up demo songs. I'm looking for one that's called Flipped Out Matrix, and here's this song. These demo songs always open with a little splash screen showing you a picture of the person who created it, and you can look at more info on that artist if you like their music. Okay, so I'm just going to look really quickly at some of the controls on the transport control. Transport is, that terminology comes from the old tape recorders, analog tape recorders. But basically you have a rewind button, a fast forward button, stop button, play, and record. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And stop. Okay, do you notice when I stopped, the playback marker, which was moving across the screen, stopped right where I paused. Okay, I can move forward using this fast forward button or backward. I can also double click the stop button to get back to the beginning of the piece. Okay, really quickly, we haven't touched on this much, but you've seen some of it. The Reason window, song file window, is divided into three main sections. There's the rack section up here where you load all of your devices and connect them. And then there's the sequencer window down here. And finally, the transport controls. Okay, the sequencer window, you can, as you see, resize it by clicking right on the little dividing line between the sequencer window and the rack portion of the window, and you can click and drag that up or down to resize it. Okay, you can also go up to the window menu and detach the sequencer window. All right, that way you could switch back and forth between the rack view and the sequencer view. Sometimes when you're doing editing, you might want to see more of the sequencer window. It can be resized just like a standard computer window by clicking on the bottom right corner and dragging to resize that window. All right, so you'll notice that when I detach the sequencer window, both the tracks window or sequencer window and the rack window have transport controls at the bottom. That's kind of a handy feature. I'm going to go ahead and reattach my sequencer window, and we'll talk about some of these other controls. So we've talked about fast forward and rewind, stop and play, record button we'll get to in another tutorial, as we will these other buttons, new dub and new alt. Okay, there are three pointers in the sequencer that you should be familiar with. There's a left pointer or locator, right locator. Oh, I said three, there are actually four. There's an end locator, which has the letter E, left L, right R, end E. And then there's a song position or playback marker, which moves when we hit the play button. Okay, and we can click that and drag it to any portion of the song where we want playback to begin. In addition to the fast forward and rewind, if you want to rewind to the beginning of a sequence or to a marker, like I'm going to move this left marker to measure 9, I double click, I click the stop button and it jumps back to where I began playback previously. If I click it again, it'll jump back to the beginning of the sequence. So quickest way to get to the beginning of a sequence is just double click or triple click if necessary the stop button. Alright, the tempo is controlled right here in the bottom left side. You can use the up or down arrows to increase or decrease tempo. You can click right on that tempo field and type in a number and hit the enter key on your computer, or you can click and drag in that window to increase and decrease the tempo. I'm going to show you an example of that. I'm going to type in 90, which I believe was the original tempo. I'm going to hit play, and just on our way out here, I'm going to increase and decrease the tempo by clicking and dragging in the tempo field. Okay, really quickly, some other fields you should be aware of and other features. There's a click track that you can turn on to get a metronome click. You can control the volume of that click right here with the click and level knob. And this pre will give you a one measure count off. Alright, before you start recording. It's handy to get you locked into the tempo before you hit the record button. You can zoom the sequencer window here, zoom horizontally, zoom vertically here. Alright, and these fields here will move those left and right markers. Alright, there's measures, beats, and ticks display here, and right below it is a real-time display. It looks like SMPTE time, but it's actually hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds, it looks like, rather than frames. Okay, I think that's enough for this tutorial.